Okay, so in this practice video, we're going to be doing USD Japanese yen 60-minute time frame, and here I'm gonna help you guys out, look at it in a different way, and this what it's gonna do is it's gonna iron out some of the questions and wrinkles that it might have in your trading. Something you might be watching one of those one or two of the previous videos, and you're like, what about in a certain situation like this or that? So I'm gonna show you some more tips and tricks on how to iron out those problems, and hopefully this is gonna solve that for you. So let's take a look at this one right here. Now notice how if I say while we're looking for a channel, let's start you from here. So what's the general way of saying of how we're gonna do this? Okay, so that's the seller coming in. He holds, he drops lower, so there's a breach. So that's the breach. Let me put the line right there. That's the breach. And once he breaches below, he never goes lower after that, but then he starts going higher. It's like, okay, well, he not only went higher, but he also went higher than the guy who was responsible. So, am I still looking at this as a sell, or is it a buy? Okay? This is going to happen to the lazy trader. Okay? Okay? So, this is not any one of you guys. If this happens to any one of you guys, I'm going to be upset. This happens to the lazy trader. Okay? A lazy trader who does not do his homework or his research on what's going on. Now, remember, if we're in a downtrend, we first finish the uptrend. Okay, so let's start from there. Here, let's start from there. So if we look at the scenario directly from here of where the whole thing started, okay, so this was going in an uptrend, pull back uptrend, pull back uptrend, pull back uptrend, pull back uptrend, and then the sell started happening. So breach happens here, comes down, pulls back, comes down, breach again. Here's the breach here. Who's responsible? This fella right here. Okay, he's responsible. So comes down, and then from this moment on, do we have a lower low? Nope. 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 Do we have a lower low? Every time there is no lower low. Okay, even if I put my line here, do we have a lower low? No, the price keeps coming back from this price. There is no lower low. Hence, the entire zone is here. A small detail, if missed, can cost a lot of money. Small detail like that. Right? Do you guys agree? If you're watching this, you guys can feel it. Like, okay, yeah, man, like, imagine if I was just like, yeah, I can see it's a downtrend. Let me just try to start it from here. Well, that's some money going down the drain, right? So you got to be very, very careful. You're better than this. You gotta step it up a little bit. Okay, so don't be that lazy trader. Don't be that lazy trader. Do more. Do more. All right, so let's take a look at how this channel starts to develop. Now, as it's coming down, notice just like earlier when we said, oh man, this would have been a buy for most people. And that's the best thing. Let it be a buy for most people. You can watch this as still in a seller's area, and that deep retracement is like, come on, baby. Come on, baby. I'm waiting. That's an opportunity for you. You're that big boy now saying, I know what's actually going on. I look at it in a whole different perspective. Okay? So as you're watching it come higher and higher and higher as the buyer, this is the buyer, right? He's coming up as rubber band man, really strong, rest a little bit, really strong, rest a little bit, slightly higher, no higher high, and then comes down crashing. So if he comes down crashing, that means this must have been his breach area, and the guy responsible must have been here. We're looking at the miniature size now, okay? In the context of a major downward move. Okay, so that's like the little point right there. The buyer tries to go up again, no higher high yet once again, and rolls over. Okay, sells activate. Now you're like, we tried to make slight lower lows, didn't get anywhere. So scratch that. We tried to make lower lows, didn't get anywhere, so this can be like that. Okay, fair enough. But then my high came in very, very deep, but still was a lower high. Okay, let's keep that momentum going. We just keep that in mind. We're like, this may be useful in the future. It may be. We don't know, and we don't know as of right now, but it may be useful because my lows are not getting any lower. They're fighting at this price. And then finally we see when we took that sell trade, okay, in this zone here, when we take that sell trade, we're watching this area again carefully to see, hey, is he going to let me through or not? I'm not even sure. He pushes through, he strives, he gets lower, got rubber band man coming down, rest a little bit, coming down more, rest a little bit, coming down harder, and then no lower lows after that. So let's change this area to here. No lower low after that. Let me shrink this up. It's like, well, isn't that practically this area then? Isn't that what we're just doing? It's just practically this area. It's like we never went lower than that. Okay, so now it's a different type of channel. This is like a squeeze. Okay, we call this a squeeze with my other students. Right, so it's a squeeze. You know, the markets are like coming into what's also known as triangles. You know, or a wedge or whatever you want to call it. It's a squeeze happening, right? The markets are like squeezing you in. So when the squeeze is happening, you're like, okay, I'm aware my high is getting lower, but I'm not sure because of the squeeze if it might turn into a range because I don't know. Remember, that concept of I don't know needs to stay valid. What if my trend line is not like that, but is actually, that's not a higher high. What if it's a range then? Isn't that right? Perspectives, right? So perspective can change right there. So even though we draw it like that, we're like, okay, just in case, I'll leave it there, but I will keep an open mind. You know, flow like the water. I will keep an open mind just in case. So the only way to know for certain is we watch this like a hawk. First things we want to watch is, first of all, whose territory are we in? Major territory is down. Okay? Massive, the big monster territory is down. You got that out of the way. Next, as the seller was coming down, the minute guy, right, the little itty bitty guys, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna remove. I'll use a different color actually. I'll make this I don't know, orange. Let's go with orange. Let's be friendly today. Okay, we're coming down. We breach this area. We hold below. The line stays here. Then we come down, we breach this area, the line stays here. But then we never breach anywhere lower than that. But it also means we're still in seller's market. So we have a miniature seller's territory here, and we're watching the momentum as the buyer starts coming in. Buyer, pull back, buyer, pull back, buyer, no higher high. Buyer, no higher high, crash. So it's like, okay. So the sell is back on, but how in the world can I execute in this area? The risk is too high, and that answer is true. Even though that trade works out and he goes further down, that's not a trade you should be attempting. It's too risky, too dangerous. When the squeeze gets tighter and tighter like that, notice how even though you're right, look how dangerous it is. Right? Do you guys see that? So when you keep this in mind, that even being correct doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to come out winning. It can be very dangerous because your entry might end up late. You might get a slight slippage on your brokerage. If you're doing this on a smaller time frame, like 15 minutes or 5 minutes, trying to like scalp the hell out of the market, you can. But the whole point is, if you get a slippage or anything, look how dangerous that is. Your brain needs to be optimal to be like, grab it as high as you can. Use this power of this downtrend line. I can see that the buyers are dying. I can see I'm in a seller's zone here. I want to grab that price as close to that as possible. Okay? So when you see stuff like that, it becomes a little bit scary and dangerous. Like, okay, how am I going to do this? Things start to develop as a slight range afterwards here. This is a miniature range. Very, very tiny. No lower low sequence, no higher high sequence, blah, blah, blah. Okay? You know, spikes down, spikes higher, nice little news event. So sometimes stuff like that will get you. It's okay. It's okay. Let that take you out. If you're involved in it, it's okay. Or you can do that extra work and be aware of the news is coming up, and I don't want to participate. Okay, can do one of those two things. So let's go on to the next example. I wanted to make this example a little bit more difficult. Now, I know things are getting more and more difficult as I'm teaching it. I want you to repeat after me right now. It is not difficult. It is easy. Again, repeat after me. It is not difficult. It is easy. The reason why I'm making you say this out loud, verbally, is because I want your brain to recognize the audio waves coming out of your mouth. Your belief system increases when you verbalize things. There's a whole course on motivation and physiology and the brain power and everything. But for now, when you keep this in your mindset and you're ready to learn, things get easier. But if the moment you say, "Oh, this is too hard," then things start to fall apart, because then you will believe it's too hard. Right? So, let's keep going. Let's keep going to the next example.